DETV News is sponsored by Newcastle County Government.
Former Governor Jack MARKELL talked to DETV News about his new position in Washington.
Plus, Christiana Care wins a national award. We'll tell you all about it.
And fans of Wegmans are getting closer to having their favorite specialty grocery store in Newcastle County. Those stories, along with sports and weather, are coming up. Good evening and welcome to DETV News, your trusted news source. I'm Lauren Wilson.
And I'm Matt Ford. Thanks for joining us. Before we begin, we'd like to welcome our new viewers in Kent and Sussex County on Comcast channels 190 and 191. Welcome, and we're glad to have you with us. Topping the news this week is a rare interview with former Delaware Governor Jack MARKELL, who was tapped by President Biden to lead the Afghani refugee effort. He spoke this week about his task in the nation's capital.
Well, I got a call from the Deputy Chief of Staff at the White House, and she said, I know this call is coming from out of left field, but the President wanted me to ask you if you'd be willing to serve as the White House coordinator for the resettlement of our allies from Afghanistan. And of course, I am incredibly honored to do so.
You can see more of MARKELL's interview on the agenda right after this broadcast.
Also in today's news, State Auditor Kathy McGinnis, who's facing a host of felony charges, wants Delaware's Department of Justice to pay for her defense. But the DOJ says no way. McGinnis is citing a state law that allows state employees facing charges tied to their public work to have publicly funded attorneys. Her attorney charges $550 an hour. Delaware law entitles McGinnis as a public official to be represented by an attorney from the Office of Defense Services at $100 an hour to conserve taxpayer funds. The Attorney General says McGinnis is independently wealthy and makes a salary of $112,000 a year, so she doesn't qualify. A separate filing in the case asked the court to sanction Attorney General Kathy Jennings, calling statements she made during a news conference announcing the indictments against McGinnis are prejudicial. McGinnis has maintained her innocence and pleaded not guilty to misusing her state position, state funds, and other related charges. She's also refuted calls to step down or take a leave of absence pending the outcome of the criminal case.
He wasn't always a winner. Zach Clark was chosen as the man in this 2020 season of the popular show The Bachelorette. But the southern New Jersey native has had his personal struggles. He came to Newark last weekend for a community run and talked candidly about bringing awareness to mental health. Here's more.
At 27, I was battling some addiction issues, some mental health issues, and the way life kind of works, I was reconnected with Scott Day, who works for Sean's House and Unlock the Life Foundation. We were college teammates, and Scott is really on a warpath to destigmatize mental illness.
Clark, who is the co-founder of Release Recovery in New York, ran with the group on about a 4-mile loop and ended back at Sean's house for a conversation about mental health. Sean's House is a 24/7 facility that opened in October of 2020 by the foundation. The facility particularly helps 14 to 24-year-olds who may be struggling with their mental health. Sean's House has nearly 3,500 visitors within the past year.
I think everyone could, take a minute and look at their own mental health and kind of get a barometer on it. And that's just what we're doing today, and it's unbelievable the turnout we have.
Over 80 members of peer staff have gone through a 6-week training course to provide them with the tools to have a conversation with anyone who may come through the door and help lead them to any necessary resources that may be needed.
Turning now to Kent County, where a 16-year-old Dover high school student was arrested for having a gun on campus. Dover police were called after a school resource officer learned a student may be in possession of a firearm. The school was placed on a lockdown so the student could be located. Just minutes later, the lockdown was lifted after the student was taken into custody. Investigators say there's no evidence to suggest the teenager intended to use or threaten anyone with the gun.
With a worldwide pandemic to deal with, it might be hard to imagine any joy in medicine over the past 2 years, but Christiana Care earned one of only 5 national gold recognitions called Joy in Medicine Awards from the American Medical Association. Take a look.
So the Joy in Medicine Award is the accumulation of years of blood, sweat, and tears on the part of our very talented Center for Work-Life Wellbeing team. And while we have much work to do in the years ahead, it is a recognition of the fact that we're going in the right direction. And it establishes Christiana Care as a thought leader in this very critical and emerging field of caregiver well-being. Over the last few years, we've begun to understand some of the unique challenges that face healthcare workers, and we're determined to support our caregivers and to create an environment where they can flourish. And so we opened the Center for Work-Life Wellbeing, and the mission of the center is to foster work-life meaning, connection, and joy.
So the Center for Work-Life Wellbeing has been very helpful with me personally. They come to visit us almost every day with a special little cart that they bring with all these goodies, but also emotionally.
So unfortunately, several years ago while working in the emergency department, I experienced a very difficult professional event that at the time there was no support system available. And I began to talk to others around the country and understood that it wasn't just me, and there was a dire need for us to develop these support systems. And so I'm very proud that Christiana Care has invested in the well-being of our caregivers and clinicians, and now those difficult professional events, we absolutely have support for our caregivers.
Personally, I had a patient who was very ill, who was about to pass. They were able to help me bring in the wife who they were married over 60 years, and they were able to help me bring her in to say goodbye to her husband. It was very meaningful that I knew they cared, and they cared about my feelings.
In other news, waving signs that read "Stop Asian Hate" and "Say No to Racism," a small group held a protest last weekend beneath a billboard calling for State Representative Gerald Brady to resign. The protest and sign at 3301 Lancaster Pike were organized by the Delaware Asian American Voice, a group formed last summer when an email from Brady containing Asian slurs became public. Brady believed the email was private. He has since announced he will not seek re-election next year when his term expires, but the group wants him to step down immediately.
And we raised the money to put up this billboard, and that is our way to send our message, Stop Asian Hate, Gerald Brady resign.
Fu said the group is currently raising money to purchase another billboard in support of the African American community.
We'll be right back with more news, but first, a look at your local weekend forecast.
Thanks, Matt. DETV fam, we are looking to have a great weekend upon us, so make sure you're out and about. Friday, we're looking at a high of about 68 with a low of about 52. Now, if you're going to the parade, the Wilmington Fire Department parade in Wilmington, the high is about 62 degrees with a low of about 45. Now on Sunday, we're looking at bright and beautiful skies, a high of 64 and a low of 52. That is your DETV weather forecast. Back to you, Matt.
Thanks, Shakira. Starting Sunday, you may want to update your contact list because you will have to add area codes to local numbers. That because Delaware is transitioning to 10-digit dialing. All this so a new 3-digit suicide prevention line can be accessible. The suicide prevention line will be 988 starting July 16th of next year. It all means you'll have to include the area code for local calls in order for them to go through. That goes for landlines and cell phones. Be sure to add the area code and a 1 if you're calling an out-of-state number. 911, by the way, will still be 3 digits.
Construction for the long-awaited Wegmans has begun at the Barley Mill Plaza in Greenville. It's the first Wegmans in Delaware. Work to prepare the site, which was formerly a DuPont office complex, started last year after it stood vacant for more than a decade. The first construction started earlier this year. It focused on the retail stores that will be around Wegmans. Wegmans is the anchoring store of the new development at Route 141 and Lancaster Pike. Included in the complex will be upscale residence, shops, and office space. It's expected to open in the second half of 2022. There's no word from the developer on any tenants. The complex will also include 80 luxury flats for rent and 33 townhouses to own. All this to be constructed on the opposite side of the retail portion. Petinero, the developer, will begin accepting applications for housing units next spring. And Delaware State Police charged 2 juveniles in 2 days for their roles in motor vehicle thefts. The first involved a 16-year-old Newark boy who was charged with a carjacking on Sunday after a BMW was stolen. It happened at the Acme parking lot in the Fairfax Shopping Center. 2 males pulled up to the victim's car, and one allegedly implied he was armed. Police attempted to stop the car after the driver was spotted driving erratically along North Market Street. The teen reportedly refused to stop and attempted to run on foot in the 2000 block of Pine Street. He was charged with multiple felonies and was committed to the Newcastle County Juvenile Detention Center. In the second incident, a 15-year-old Claymont boy was charged with stealing a 2015 Chevy Malibu from a man who left the vehicle running in the parking lot of the Eagle Tobacco Shop on Miller Road. The vehicle was later found unoccupied on Pennsylvania Avenue. Police saw the teenager return to the vehicle a short time later. He was caught and charged after a foot chase.
A crash on Route 7 in Old Stanton Christiana Road near Delaware Park left a Wilmington man dead and stopped traffic for hours. Police say a pickup truck slammed into the back of a sports car. The force of that collision sent the small car careening across the southbound lanes of the roadway. The pickup then rolled over. The 28-year-old pickup driver crawled out of the wreckage and fled the scene, but was caught a short time later about a half mile from that scene. Police say he's being investigated for DUI. The driver of the sports car, 51-year-old John Porter, died at Christiana Hospital.
We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. You're watching DETV News.
This message is brought to you by Newcastle County Government.
While we have vaccines that are highly effective, some folks are non-vaxxers, and I get that, but at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's about that 5-year-old, that 6-year-old that don't have any options. Should they get infected and you be unable to hold their hand in the ICU simply because you chose not to be vaccinated, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Welcome back. Newcastle County is using federal American Rescue Plan funds to address housing inequities in the county. County Executive Matt Meyer says those inequities have plagued communities for generations.
American Rescue Plan Act dollars, $54 million this year, $54 million next year, is to reimagine our county, and to reimagine our county, particularly with a focus on equity, on jobs, and on housing.
Meyer was joined by officials who announced the Building Better Communities initiative. $11 million will be invested in programs supporting crime prevention, fair housing, and employment opportunities. A host of violence prevention programs will also be funded, including a pilot school-based trauma program to support students who have been exposed to gun violence. The county exec says the money will be spent to strengthen commercial corridors in historically underserved areas that have been financially impacted by the pandemic. The county also hired a consultant to focus on environmental justice. It will expand home visits to vulnerable new moms and support job initiatives, such as a program to train high school students in early child care.
Ambassadors to the European Union made their first visit to the first state this week. The day began at the Delaware Public Archives building in Dover with Governor John Carney to discuss trade and investment with Europe. From there, European Union member state ambassadors were stationed across the state alongside Delaware students, business, and faith leaders with federal, state, and local officials.
We talk trade, we talk climate, we talk jobs, we talk values and rights and supporting democracy.
The purpose of the joint outreach trip was to highlight and strengthen the cultural, educational, scientific, and business ties between the state of Delaware and the member states of the European Union.
And Delaware State University made history by becoming the first HBCU and minority-serving institution to sign an agreement with the United States Agency for International Development. A memorandum of understanding between the agency and DSU was signed to further advance the global impact on food security, water security development, and human rights. The collaboration will mean new learning opportunities for DSU students and will allow faculty participation in learning research fellowships.
USAID is going to be a clear partner with us on that score. Two fronts: more opportunities for our students, internships hopefully leading to jobs, and more opportunities for our researchers and scholars, many of which, as you well know, do their scholarship in countries throughout the world.
In Wilmington, University of Delaware men's crew teammates pulled together to clear away mounds of debris from the Christina River shoreline. Because of the pandemic, the area covered by the team members had not been cleaned for 2 years. Adding to the trash was Hurricane Ida last month. More than 40 rowers used a free university-wide mental health day called Blue Hen Recoup to give back to the community. John Williams, who was affiliated with the effort, had this to say.
And so they've decided, because they use the river, they want to keep the plastics out of it and other debris to make it look nice for the users and the people that are along the Riverwalk.
Williams said in its 30-year history, the Christina Conservancy has organized the cleanup of more than 500 tons of debris along the riverfront.
And in the nation's capital, First Lady Jill Biden honored outstanding teachers Tuesday during a White House ceremony, and Delaware's Teacher of the Year was there. Biden, who is now an English professor at Northern Virginia Community College, held the event for the 2020 and 2021 State and National Teachers of the Year. The awards ceremony took place on the South Lawn, where President Joe Biden made an unannounced appearance. He delivered 2 crystal apples to the 2 National Teachers of the Year. Also there to celebrate was Rebecca Vitelli, Delaware's Teacher of the Year. She's a preschool teacher for Colonial's Early Education Program, better known as SEEP. Vitelli was thrilled to be invited to the Capitol and to advocate for preschoolers in sessions held with other top educators.
2 motorcyclists died in separate crashes here in Delaware. The motorcyclists were the 4th and 5th to be killed in crashes since Friday. On Sunday afternoon, Newcastle County Police were called to River Road, where they found a 55-year-old motorcyclist critically injured. He later died. A few hours later, Delaware State Police were called to Summit Bridge Road, where a car turned in front of a motorcycle. A 20-year-old Middletown man tried to stop the motorcycle, but hit the car, then slid underneath. Police say he died at the scene. Here's a reminder. Governor John Carney and the Delaware Department of Health and Social Services issued an emergency regulation requiring educators, school staff, volunteers, and contractors working in Delaware schools to be vaccinated against COVID-19 or undergo weekly testing beginning November 1st. The requirement, which was first announced last month, applies to public and private K-12 schools. Carney says there's no better way to prevent the spread of COVID-19 and keep all Delaware children in their classrooms than to get vaccinated. You can visit the website on the bottom of your screen to find vaccination provider locations.
Do you have any unused or unwanted expired prescriptions taking up room in your medicine cabinet? On Saturday from 10 to 2, the Drug Enforcement Administration has scheduled its National Take Back Initiative. It's a safe way to dispose of those medications. Organizers say this is an opportunity to prevent pill abuse and theft by ridding homes of potentially dangerous prescription drugs. The service is free and anonymous, no questions asked. The DEA will also accept vaping devices and cartridges at any of its drop-off locations during the take-back. It cannot, however, accept devices containing lithium batteries. Prescription drug abuse in the United States is said to be alarmingly high, as are the number of accidental poisonings and overdoses. For more information about the Take Back Day event and to find year-round collection sites near you, visit the site that you see on your screen.
The Latin American Community Center can offer dozens more children spots in their expanded Early Learning Center. The agency held a groundbreaking recently at its main building at 402 North Van Buren Street. The ceremony marked the start of a construction of a large facility that will provide care for newborns and children up to age 5. The expanded care center will build back slots lost during COVID. At its completion, the expansion will allow the LACC to serve 214 children. That's an increase of about 78 kids.
Coming up after this is a break with sports and Nick Alessandrini. You're watching DETV News.
Let DART do the driving. DART First State provides transportation that is clean, safe, reliable, and affordable. Plan your trip and get real-time bus information with the free DART Transit app. Scan your phone to pay your fare with the free DART Pass app. So what are you waiting for? Try transit today. Visit dartfirststate.com or call 1-800-652-DART.
Welcome back to DETV News. I'm Nick Alessandrini. The 76ers opened up their season last night without Ben Simmons. The Hens and Eagles will both look to rebound this week after tough losses a week ago and some big high school football games in Week 6. And Week 7 looks even better this weekend as we inch closer and closer to playoff time. But we start with Ben Simmons and the 76ers. The Sixers announced on Tuesday that they had suspended Ben Simmons for 1 game due to conduct detrimental to the team. Video surfaced of Simmons at 76ers practice playing in sweatpants with his phone being seen in his pocket. It is also reported that Coach Doc Rivers tried to get Simmons to sub into a defensive drill. Simmons refused and was sent home from practice. So the Sixers were without Simmons last night, but got the season started the right way. Tyrese Maxey got the start at point guard in the season opener against the Zion-less Pelicans in New Orleans, and the Sixers led from wire to wire on their way to a 117-97 victory. Joel Embiid picked up where he left off last year and led the way with 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. Tobias Harris was right behind him with 20 points and even added 12 boards. Maxey, he finished with 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists, and Furkan Korkmaz gave him 22 off the bench in the Sixers win. Next up is that home opener on Friday night when the 76ers welcome the Brooklyn Nets to the Wells Fargo Center. Tip at 7:30. On to our Delaware high school scores and recaps, and there was some good ones last weekend, including a top 2A matchup between number 3 DMA and number 2 Howard. DMA holding its annual Pink Out to help tackle breast cancer awareness, and it was a phenomenal environment at Fusco Memorial Stadium. DMA would strike first with Devin Green from 4 yards out. Green would rush for 140 yards and 3 scores on the night. DMA quarterback Brian Aline threw for 112 yards and ran for 56, and the Seahawks got the victory 28-20. A great matchup in Class 3A between Dover and Sussex Central, 2 teams battling out for top 5 rankings. And the Senators, a tough loss a week ago to Apo, but they responded and were able to get the win 41-25. And last but not least, in a huge game in 2A District 3, it was Caravel and Woodbridge. They made the trip down to Woodbridge in a battle of top 5 teams. And Seatric Stones opened up the scoring in the second. He took a punt to the house, 63-yard score, and the Blue Raiders would not look back. The Bucks would threaten in the fourth, trailing just 16-12, but Woodbridge would respond. Kenny Newton, he seals the win with a 72-yard touchdown run with just under 5 minutes to play, and the Woodbridge Blue Raiders get the win 24-12. Some big games to look forward to in Week 7 this weekend. Delaware Live Sports will be bringing you 3 big ones. Friday night, you can catch Glenn Frazier on the call for a big top 5 matchup between St. George's and Smyrna. Betty Mitchell will be bringing you a good one from down south between the Cape Henlopen Vikings and Sussex Central Golden Knights. Or join me and Bill Harmon on Friday as we bring you the Odessa Ducks and Polytech Panthers. All of those kickoffs are scheduled for 7 p.m. Friday night. And some other big games you want to pay attention to: St. Mark's and DMA in action this week. Archmere going up a class to face Cesar Rodney, and Caravel looking to rebound against Lake Forest. All big-time matchups this weekend. It was a tough outing for both the Birds and the Blue Hens last week. The Eagles lost a tough one at home on Thursday night to the Bucks, and the Blue Hens came out on the wrong end of a loss up at Stony Brook. So both teams looking to rebound this weekend, but it won't be easy. The Eagles, they're heading out west to Las Vegas to take on the 4-2 Raiders. Lane Johnson did report back to the team and will practice this week and most likely play on Sunday. So a big addition to the offensive line back this weekend for the Birds. Kickoff set for 4:05. And another big weekend we talked about at the number 23 Delaware Blue Hens. It's homecoming, but it's also JMU week, and that's a big one. The Hens will welcome in the Dukes to Newark on Saturday. The Dukes sit at number 7 in the FCS poll. Delaware also looking to rebound again. A tough loss to 1-5 Stony Brook on the road last weekend. After the loss, head coach Danny Rocco said, "We are just not a good football team right now." That could all change with a win over the Dukes on Saturday. It's the first meeting since the playoff loss in 2018. Kickoff is set for 3 o'clock at Delaware Stadium. Now it's time for our Delaware Live Sports top plays of the week, and we've got 4 more big ones for you this week. Getting us started at number 4, Brennan Hickey and John Gray from Tower Hill. Check out the sideline angle. Going to dive, extend, full body extension, and Gray able to haul it in from Hickey. A big touchdown for the Hillers there at number 4. On to number 3, we're going to head to the volleyball court. Mandy Quinn from Padua. Check out these 2 pancake saves. Padua and Newark Charter, a big matchup of top 5 programs. Here, the first one on the slow-mo. That's a save, and then she's going to get right back up, and she's going to do it again. Newark Charter going to send it over, and there she is. Great reaction, dives, gets her hand under it, able to save it for the point. Padua would get it. They would also get a big 3-0 win. On to number 2 in Dover. You heard of Jaquan Kilby earlier in the broadcast. Check out this one. He's going to take the handoff from 20 yards out, breaks 1, 2, 3 tackles, 4, 5, able to stay on his feet, and he's going to carry the defenders all the way into the end zone. A big win for Dover. They rebound after that tough loss to Appo last week. On to number 1, a great pair of catches. It's Jordan Moran to John Parker here first. Over the shoulder, pump fake, going to let this one fly into the end zone. Back shoulder, goes up and gets it. What a play for the touchdown. We're not done. We got 2 for the price of 1 here at number 1. Rayshawn Matthews against DMA, trailing 21-8 in the 3rd. Perfect throw, leaves it up for his go-to guy, Demir Hollingsworth, who brings it in, able to get a foot down. Incredible plays there at number 1. And that'll do it for sports this week. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, more DETV News.
Auto accident, medical negligence, work injury. Contact Team Tice, your Delaware personal injury lawyers. Leroy Tice in Wilmington, Delaware, serving and supporting the people of Delaware. Call 302-489-2400. That's 302-489-2400. Online at teamtice.com.
Welcome back. Community organizers got a boost thanks to Highmark Delaware. The company released its list of so-called blueprints that will go to grant recipients for the 3rd quarter of this year. The company decides which health-related nonprofits get money based on several criteria. Winners included Jewish Family Services, Stop Soldier Suicide, and Teen Warehouse, just to name a few. Since 2007, Highmark has given more than $22 million in blueprints for community grants.
What organizers are saying will be one of the largest parades in the city's history kicks off 10 a.m. Saturday morning. It's all to honor the 100th anniversary of the Wilmington Fire Department. The parade, expected to last more than 2 hours, begins in downtown Wilmington at 16th and King Streets and will pass a reviewing stand on Rodney Square. It then will proceed to 4th and King Streets. It is open to the public and parking in the city is free. Parade highlights include appearances by the United States Marine Band and the New York City Fire Department's Emerald Society Pipes and Drums. More than 20 bands and over 40 fire companies, police agencies, paramedics, and emergency medical services, along with their apparatus, are also expected to march in the parade. Afterwards, parade goers are invited to the Wilmington Riverfront, where the celebration will continue. And finally tonight, Newcastle County Executive Matt Meyer paid a visit to an elementary school to thank a secretary for going above and beyond the call of duty. It happened at Carey Downey Elementary School in the Colonial School District. Dominique Spencer was floored when the county exec told her that October 19th, 2021 is proclaimed Dominique Spencer Day. All that because a teacher wrote to Meyer about Spencer's selfless efforts to help students with everything during the pandemic, from food to backpack donations.
I feel good. I feel a little overwhelmed, but this is great. I mean, it's super nice to be recognized and know that I'm appreciated in the district.
Spencer was just as active in community service when she was a student at William Penn High School. She graduated in 2016 with a determination to return as an employee so she could give back to the school district that she was raised in. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and you know, Matt, I also work for the Colonial School District, and I can tell you Dominique is a firecracker and a real asset to the district.
Certainly sounds like it. What an
really
accomplished
is.
young woman. Congratulations, Dominique.
Well, that's our week in review. Thanks for watching DETV News. I'm Lauren Wilson.
And I'm Matt Ford. Be sure to check us out across social media. Stay well, and we'll see you next time.
DETV News is sponsored by Newcastle County Government.